What if quitting was never part of your identity? What if every time life tried to break you, you refused to bow? This is not just a motivational speech. This is a declaration, a line drawn in the sand. Because the people who win in life are not the most talented. They're the ones who decided they would not stop until their vision became reality. If you've ever felt tired, discouraged, or questioned your path, this message is for you. Step 1, unbreakable commitment. Unbreakable commitment is the moment you decide that quitting is no longer part of your vocabulary. It's the internal shift where trying turns into deciding, where hope turns into certainty, and where excuses lose their power over you. Most people want success, but they also want comfort, approval, and safety. And that's why they hesitate when pressure shows up. Commitment is different. Commitment is when you make a decision so strong that circumstances no longer control your behavior. You stop asking how long it will take and start asking what must be done today. Because once the decision is made, time becomes irrelevant and persistence becomes your identity. When commitment is unbreakable, setbacks don't discourage you. They instruct you. Failure no longer feels personal. It becomes feedback. You stop seeing obstacles as walls and start seeing them as signals that you are on the edge of growth. Pain doesn't mean you're going the wrong way. It means you're stretching beyond who you used to be. This level of commitment demands emotional strength because there will be days when motivation disappears and confidence feels distant. On those days, commitment carries you forward. You act not because you feel good, but because you decided long ago who you are and what you stand for. Unbreakable commitment also reshapes your standards. You no longer negotiate with your lower self. You don't ask, should I push today? You push because that's who you've decided to be. Your daily actions align with your long-term vision even when no one is watching and no immediate reward is guaranteed. Discipline becomes natural because your identity is stronger than your impulses. You stop relying on external validation and begin trusting the promise you made to yourself, understanding that self-respect is built by honoring your word in private. At this level, commitment becomes a force that influences everything you touch. Your focus sharpens, your energy intensifies, and your tolerance for distractions decreases. You are no longer available for excuses, self-pity, or half-effort. Every challenge strengthens your resolve. Every sacrifice reinforces your purpose. And every step forward confirms that once a human being commits with absolute certainty, the mind, body, and emotions begin to align in service of that decision, creating momentum that refuses to slow down. Step 2, pain as fuel. Pain is not your enemy. It is your rawest source of power when you learn how to use it. Most people spend their lives trying to avoid pain, numb it, or escape from it, never realizing that the very discomfort they fear is the same force that can push them into greatness. Pain is a signal that something must change, that growth is demanding your attention. When you stop resisting it and start listening to it, pain becomes direction. It sharpens your awareness, strips away illusions, and forces you to confront the gap between where you are and where you know you should be. Every disappointment, every rejection, every moment where life doesn't go according to plan carries energy within it. That energy can either turn into bitterness or into drive, depending on how you condition your mind. When pain is ignored, it weakens you. When pain is embraced, it strengthens you. The strongest individuals are not those who have suffered the least, but those who refuse to let suffering be meaningless. They made a decision that nothing they experienced would be wasted, that every hard moment would be converted into intensity, focus, and hunger to rise higher than before. Using pain as fuel requires emotional mastery. It means refusing to let temporary emotions dictate permanent decisions. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin asking, what is this preparing me for? That shift changes everything. Pain becomes a training ground, not a stopping point. It deepens your resilience and conditions your nervous system to stay strong under pressure. Over time, you stop fearing discomfort because you associate it with progress, knowing that every breakthrough in your life has always been preceded by resistance. When you channel pain correctly, it creates urgency. You stop procrastinating because the cost of staying the same becomes unbearable. You move with purpose, intensity, and clarity because you are no longer running from pain. You are running toward your potential. The memory of past struggles becomes a source of strength, reminding you of what you've survived and why you must keep pushing forward. Pain hardens your resolve, strengthens your discipline, and fuels a level of determination that comfort could never create. transforming every setback into fire and every scar into a reminder of how much power you carry within you. Step 3, identity shift. An identity shift is the moment you stop trying to change your results and start changing who you believe you are. Most people stay trapped not because they lack ability, but because they are loyal to an old self-image that no longer serves them. You will always act in alignment with the person you believe yourself to be, even when that belief is limiting. The breakthrough happens when you realize that success is not something you chase on the outside, it is something you become on the inside. The moment your identity changes, your behavior follows naturally, and your results have no choice but to catch up. For years, you may have told yourself stories about who you are and what you're capable of, stories shaped by past failures, opinions of others, or moments of fear. Those stories feel real because they are familiar, not because they are true. An identity shift requires you to challenge those narratives and replace them with a higher standard. You no longer say, "I'm trying to be disciplined." You say, "I am disciplined." You no longer say, "I hope I succeed." You say, "I do what successful people do." Language matters because it reinforces identity, and identity dictates action. When your identity shifts, consistency stops feeling like force and starts feeling like alignment. You don't rely on motivation because motivation comes and goes. You rely on self-image. You show up on hard days because quitting no longer fits who you are. You hold the line when things get uncomfortable because lowering your standards would feel like betraying yourself. This is where confidence is built, not from results alone, but from repeated proof that you act in accordance with your chosen identity regardless of external circumstances. An identity shift also changes how you respond to failure. Instead of seeing mistakes as proof that you're not enough, you see them as part of the process of becoming more. You stop personalizing setbacks and start using them to refine your approach. You understand that growth is not linear and that evolution requires patience, repetition, and emotional strength. Over time, the new identity becomes automatic, shaping your decisions, habits, and expectations so deeply that the old version of you no longer feels familiar and the future version you once dreamed of starts to feel inevitable. Step 4, daily standards. Daily standards are the invisible rules you live by when no one is watching. The non-negotiables that shape your behavior long before results ever appear. Your life is not defined by what you occasionally do when you feel inspired. It is defined by what you consistently tolerate and demand from yourself every single day. Most people lower their standards to match their current circumstances, but high performers do the opposite. They raise their standards and force their circumstances to rise with them. The moment you decide what you will and will not accept in your thoughts, habits, and actions, you begin to take control of your direction. When standards are low, effort feels optional and discipline feels like punishment. When standards are high, discipline becomes a natural expression of self-respect. You stop asking whether you feel like showing up and start showing up because that is simply the standard you live by. You don't negotiate with excuses, emotions, or external conditions. You train yourself to act with consistency even when energy is low, because you understand that excellence is not an act. It is a habit reinforced daily through conscious choice and repetition. Raising your daily standards means demanding more clarity in your thinking, more intention in your actions, and more integrity in how you keep promises to yourself. You become aware of the small compromises that slowly erode momentum, and you refuse to let them pass unnoticed. What you eat, what you consume mentally, how you speak to yourself, how you respond under pressure, all of it matters. These micro decisions may seem insignificant in the moment, but over time they compound into either strength or stagnation. High standards also create emotional stability. Instead of being ruled by mood swings or external validation, you operate from principle. You do the work even when progress is invisible. You hold yourself accountable even when no one else will. This builds inner certainty because you know you can trust yourself to follow through. As your standards rise, so does your confidence, your resilience, and your ability to perform under pressure, because you are no longer driven by comfort or convenience, but by a clear internal code that governs how you live, think, and show up every day. Step 5, emotional control. Emotional control is the ability to choose your response regardless of the intensity of what you feel, and it is one of the most powerful skills a person can develop. Emotions are not weaknesses, they are signals. But when emotions are allowed to dictate actions without awareness, they become liabilities. Most people live at the mercy of their emotional state, productive only when they feel motivated and distracted when they feel overwhelmed. Mastery begins when you understand that feelings do not have authority unless you give it to them, and that you can experience strong emotions without allowing them to steer your decisions. When emotional control is developed, pressure no longer breaks you, it sharpens you. Stress becomes a signal to focus rather than panic. Fear becomes information rather than a command to retreat. Instead of reacting automatically, you pause, breathe, and choose a response that aligns with your long-term vision. This pause creates power. It allows you to operate from intention rather than impulse. And over time, this ability separates those who lead their lives from those who are constantly reacting to them. Emotional control is built through awareness and repetition. You begin by observing your emotional patterns without judgment, noticing what triggers frustration, doubt, or anger. Rather than suppressing these emotions, you learn to redirect them. Energy does not disappear, it changes form. The same intensity that fuels anxiety can be conditioned into focus. The same emotion that creates anger can be transformed into drive. With practice, you stop labeling emotions as good or bad and start using them strategically to support your goals. As emotional control strengthens, consistency becomes possible. You no longer abandon habits because you feel uninspired or discouraged. You stay disciplined in moments of discomfort because you are no longer trying to escape how you feel. You understand that emotions are temporary, but the consequences of your actions are not. This awareness creates emotional resilience, allowing you to stay grounded under pressure and composed in uncertainty, giving you the ability to move forward with clarity and strength even when your internal state is intense and demanding. Step 6, vision-driven action. Vision-driven action is the ability to move with purpose even when motivation is absent and the outcome is uncertain. A clear vision is not just a dream or a fantasy. It is a compelling picture of the future that pulls you forward and gives meaning to your effort. Without vision, action feels heavy and inconsistent. With vision, even difficult work feels aligned because you understand why it matters. When your actions are driven by vision rather than emotion, you stop reacting to the present and start creating the future intentionally. Most people wait to feel ready before they act, but vision-driven individuals act because their vision demands it. They don't rely on short-term excitement or external encouragement. Instead, they use their vision as a reference point for daily decisions. Every choice is filtered through the question, does this move me closer to the life I'm committed to building? This clarity eliminates distraction and indecision because anything that doesn't serve the vision automatically loses priority. Action becomes focused, deliberate, and consistent, even when progress appears slow. Vision-driven action also provides endurance. When challenges arise, you don't interpret them as signs to stop. You see them as part of the path. The vision reminds you that temporary discomfort is a small price to pay for long-term fulfillment. On days when results are invisible and effort feels unrewarded, vision keeps you moving. It turns patience into strength and persistence into a habit. You are no longer driven by immediate outcomes, but by the certainty of where you are going. As vision and action stay connected, confidence grows naturally. Each small step reinforces your belief in yourself, not because everything is working perfectly, but because you are honoring your commitment to move forward. You stop overthinking and start executing, trusting that clarity often comes after action, not before it. Vision-driven action trains you to lead yourself, to stay aligned under pressure, and to move decisively even in uncertainty, creating momentum that builds day after day and transforms a distant dream into a living direction that governs how you think, choose, and show up in every area of your life. The dream doesn't respond to words, it responds to action. Stay committed when it's hard, focused when it's unclear, and disciplined when no one is watching. If you refuse to quit, refuse to settle, and refuse to lower your standards, the life you dream of has no choice but to meet you on the other side.